Hi, and thanks for checking out another video. Today we're going to talk about the topic that absolutely is always the most requested, and that's time management. And I got good news for you. I'm going to share with you some techniques and tricks and secrets that are really easy to implement, as opposed to a lot of the other systems that are out there. Now, this is a pretty quick video. In my live recruiting system courses, now for all editions, owners, managers, perm, advanced, rookie, temp, advanced, rookie, we cover this, and we cover it in detail because there's so much to it. But again, in this quick video, I'm going to really give you everything that you need, whether you go to a seminar or not, to be able to implement this today and to increase your productivity massively. So we have to really start at the basis of productivity. If you look at how productive the average American citizen or Spanish citizen, or you name it, it's a universal issue. What do you think that number is? And I always ask people to throw out some numbers, and I get some crazy numbers, but very few really guess how low it is. I have seen statistics as low as 20%. Okay, the real number is somewhere between 20 and no more than 40% productive. And again, there are all sorts of studies if you do a Google search. Microsoft did a study just a couple of years ago, and they showed that the average worker was productive only 17 out of 45 hours that they work. So there's obviously a real issue, and you can make more money, have more free time, whatever your motivational reason is, and it's different for everyone. You can accomplish your goals by getting better at time. You can't manage time. We all know that. Time is, continual. But you can get better with your time, and that's really the key message. So again, maybe you want to make more placements, maybe you want to generate more temp margin, maybe you want to spend less time out of your business that you own, or you want to get better at managing your time, and you also run a desk. Who knows? You want to spend more time with your kids, with your friends, at a show. This will help you get better at it. So I'll start off with, frankly, what was the best thing that I ever learned in my life, and I think was paramount for my career. And I learned it in a seminar in college in my freshman year. I was overwhelmed. I was a great student, but man, was I overwhelmed. So I saw this little ad in one of those big, old college rooms. And I went, and I have to tell you, it was profound for me because it was so simple. Now, I'll talk to you about that, and I'm going to talk to you about some evolutions from that. But the concept was, just as I mentioned, that people are incredibly unproductive, and they waste their time left and right. So the concept that they trained you here was to pick just a pocket of time, a pocket where you can be super productive. Everyone has that in them. Don't try to master getting great with every minute or trying to schedule everything. Just pick some intense pockets of time. So, long story short, I evolved that into my business world where I would say, all right, I'm just going to focus in the morning and get unbelievably good at what I do. All right, I'm going to come back to that concept in a minute. So you have to look at your desk or your branch or your business and decide whether you think that you really need this. Well, our business, it's crazy. Time management is a huge issue in any industry, in any business. But I really do believe that in the staffing and the recruitment industries, it's crazy. There's so many things that the average salesperson or manager or owner has to deal with in the course of the day. It's everything. And from picking up phones and creating our product, right? Recruiting and creating our clients. And we really can't buy leads. They're not so easy. We have to generate our own leads, or usually our own marketing material and promotion and seminars and the phone comes in from the candidates, it comes in from the clients, email is ringing off the hook. Job postings and job posting replies are coming in. It's endless. So it's so easy to think that you're being productive, but at the end of the day to look back and say, my goodness, what did I accomplish? What did I produce? And very often it's not so much. And I bet you it's somewhere around that 17-hour mark if you're lucky. Now look, I say that this is universal. It is universal. I traveled the globe, as you know, as the executive of the world's largest staffing firm. And every country I was in, the same thing happened. And I would give people techniques or tricks or processes of new things that they needed to do for their business. And, they would all say the same thing. In Spain, they would say, no tengo el tiempo para sus técnicos. Yeah, técnicos, go with it. Tenemos muchas distracciones, señor. All right, now I actually spoke in English there, because as you could tell, my Spanish isn't so good. But my point is, everyone watching this really has this issue to deal with. So, how do you get really good at it? Again, there's so many different techniques and programs out there. I want you to avoid some of the major issues. Email, you all know, is a major distraction. There are people who will just write on that. At a minimum, turn off that little buzzer. When you hear that thing ring when you have mail, you are crazy. You are programming it to distract you. It is absolutely absurd. It is crazy. Turn that thing off. I challenge you to turn off the little icon also in the bottom, that glows and floats and, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. Not such a good idea. I do email a lot. I'm a big email guy, so I'm not going to suggest that you get rid of it. All right, I love it. Just pick pockets of time when you're going to deal with it. And if you go through the rest of this video, soon I'm just going to explain that I don't care when you do it. You can do it in the afternoon for as much as you want once you focus on your big pockets of time. The other thing, my goodness, the LinkedIn, the Twitters, the social networking, they're all wonderful. They are great, but that cannot be your business. It cannot be where you spend a lot of your time. And you have to look at that as gravy excess time, okay? Not as the means to an end, or as an ends to a means. You get my point. All right, people feel good when they spend time on, these networking sites. Hey, it's wonderful, but nothing, can replace the live interaction, live presentations, real recruiting, real marketing, real meetings, whatever your job is, real anything. So be very, very careful about the computer. Okay, so to the main tip about managing your time. I know that if we were in a live seminar, I would ask for some comments here. And you know what I hear a lot? I hear the great cliche that, hey, you know what, Neil? Hey, life is a marathon. Life's a marathon. And we read about that all the time. But you know what? Life is not a marathon. It can't be a marathon. The premise to my time management system is simple, is that life is not a marathon. Life is a series of sprints. Now, again, life probably in and of itself is a marathon, and you got to go steady and, deal with everything in your life. But in business, you can't look at it as a marathon. How daunting is that? Could you imagine, for one, a 26.2-mile run is daunting. Could you imagine if it was 126 or 1,026 or a 13-year run? It would be impossible to train or to gear up for it. So you got to get that mindset out. There's also been great studies about productivity and how when people are focused and they have laser focus and they're really concentrated and they don't allow for distractions for periods of time, they get so much more done. Again, I'll get into this much more live and a lot of the theory and a lot of ways that we can get better, but just take that concept. If you deal with things from a sprint perspective, think how great you can be. So I want each of you to select really your morning hours. Probably not the first thing that you do, but let's say from maybe 9:30 to 11:30, and that's what I did, or 9:30 to 12:30, and I did that a lot too. But 2 or 3 hours where you're going to say, I am going to be a machine. I'm going to be focused. I'm not looking at my email. I'm not on a social networking site. I'm not dealing with other technology. I'm not talking about the ball game or, my friend's, shower that they had the other day. I'm not going to pick up the telephone when it rings. I'm not going to do anything other than these things that I am focused on. And I can do that for 2 hours or 3 hours. And those are the money calls. All right, so if you do that, your productivity can and will literally double. I am telling you, I used these techniques when I was a selling manager. I wanted to not only be the top producer in my company, which I was right up there. I wanted to have the best branch, which I had. I wanted to be promoted, which I got. I wanted to spend time with my girlfriend and my social life, which I loved, especially when I was younger and living in the city and doing all those great things. Okay, I wanted all of those things. And I was able to do that and be so much more productive than everyone else by using this simple approach that I learned in college. And hey, since then I've seen tons of self-help, courses and videos and books, and they all basically take that concept and they compartmentalize it like that. Just focus for that period of time. Then you don't need to worry about all these other techniques. Hey, they're great. I've seen them. They're wonderful. They're not for me. Okay, for those of you who've been following me, and this is pretty late in our video series, you'll see that I like to simplify things. Okay, and that's the magic of the recruiting system, is we take all these complex concepts and we boil them down into simple to apply techniques that you can use. Okay, so anyone can do this. So you don't have to worry about, hey, I'm doing a get it done, or I like to use Outlook, or I like this approach, or I like the time-chasmic, approach, whatever. Okay, this allows you to get super, super productive. Okay, again, I want to end this video pretty quickly. There's a lot more I do have to say on the topic, but let this work for you. What you need, and those of you hopefully have been reading all of the ebooks, we've talked in the past about creating systems and processes. It's critical that you do that, certainly with all of your marketing and your recruiting plan. If you have a system and process in place, your days can really and should plan themselves. Planning is a nightmare. We get into that in detail in other training, and perhaps I'll have an ebook or a video for you, maybe not, but it's a nightmare. So you have to create a system that self-plans, so that when you come in the next day from your computer system, you don't have to sit there and, oh, it's time to plan. Kill me now, really. So have your system self-plan, get there, and I'm not just talking now for this block of time about your marketing calls or your recruiting calls or setting up your presentations. I'm talking you're not looking at financials and you're not doing anything else. Whatever those key things are that you rated a priority, that's what you want to rate, okay? Last tip I'll leave you with is if you use Outlook, or your front office system has time management or planning capability in it, whatever tool that you use, you got to create a system. Within that system, you have to create some rules that work for you, that you can live with. My rules in my system were pretty simple. Okay, I prioritize things 1, 2, and 3. I know this isn't get it done or any of the other things. Use your own system is my point. But I would rate things from most important to least. Now again, anything that was least important was still important, or I wouldn't write it down. So you'll get good at not writing them down. But I would focus on those ones, and I would get them all done, or as many as I can in that 3 hours, like a machine. Again, no interruptions, no anything. Okay, on the same note, obviously you're not going to get everything done throughout the course of the day. You can still do more outside of this block of time. When you're outside of the block of time, do as much as you can. Move things over to the next day. If you have to move a task more than 3 times, this is my rule, I would delete the task. If you look at it, hey, this is the 3rd time I'm moving this thing. I don't want to delete it because it's important. Then guess what? You've got to do it. Can you cheat? Of course you can cheat. But you don't want to cheat yourself, because someone once said, a great person said, if you cheat yourself, you're cheating yourself. Right? So you don't want to, I made that up. I'm not saying I'm a great person, but I made that one up. Okay, so you got to create these rules, and you got to make them work for you. Again, that's it. My final tip for you, and this is a big one, is when I first would train people on this when I was a manager, most people knew that they wanted to be more productive, but their real issue was they didn't think that it really affected them that much. As a manager, I know that for anything, I need them to get bought in. As an individual, you need to buy into it yourself. So what I did was I created a time log. Now, it's critical that you do this. It is a complete pain in the buttocks. Okay, but you need to write this down. Now, what I suggest you do is just take a blank piece of paper and write down everything that you do for 1 to 2 days. I mean everything, okay? I mean, if you, and just look at it, and by the minute, okay, because if you end up having to write so much because you're doing so many things, then you're probably not doing something right. Again, if you don't have to write down the name of the person's resume that you looked at. If you're looking at, 32 resumes and reviewing them, and it takes you a half hour, just write for that, from, 8:07 to 8:37, I reviewed resumes. That's fine. If you talk to someone for a minute because they asked you about the ball game, write that down. If you went to the bathroom, write that down. You don't have to get into specifics. Again, anything I want you to write down. Someone interrupted you again, you write that down. The phone rang about a deal that you were working on, write that down. I want you to write everything, and then I want you to look at it, and you're going to be amazed. As an owner or manager out there, you need to insist that this gets done. Individuals, you have to do it for yourself. All right, and then owners and managers, sit down with your people and review it. It is amazing. Now, bear in mind, when people are doing this, they know that it's going to be reviewed, or even if you're reviewing it, yourself, so you're even more productive there than you normally would be because you know you're writing it all down, and it still is awful. So again, you do that, you're going to see, wow, there's some great ways that I can be productive. And again, there's a ton of theory about distractions and that alone of why. It's all part of the reason of why that 3-hour block really works. Again, I don't need to get into all that theory and all the other tricks. I think I've given you enough. I would love to hear your comments at the end of the blog about some techniques and tricks that you use to help other people out. Please don't be shy to add comments anywhere else on it. Again, this was pretty quick. I hope it was super helpful for you. Thank you so much. I hope to see a lot of you at some upcoming seminars. There's been some great interest in it. Thank you so much. So sell like the wind and carpe diem.